Welcome back to the Everything Hoops YouTube channel. I'm Lance Caparossi, and I'm with the Lankies sharpshooter out of Kansas, Bryce Simon. Hit that subscribe button. Hit the little bell for notifications. Today, we're doing blocker charge. Before we get into it, I'm going to let Bryce explain to you guys what blocker charge is.
So blocker charge, guys, is topics or something I come up with, and you have to choose one or the other, okay? There's no in between. So I'm going to throw something at Lance. Today, I'm going to throw multiple things at Lance. It has the same context, but we're going to do different ones, and you have to choose one or the other. You can't play middle ground. You can't play, Switzerland that plays the middle, okay? So it's kind of a play on blocker charge for a referee. It's kind of, Today, Lance, the blocker charge is, here's the context before I give you the first one. It's who would you start your franchise with between the players I give you? Okay?
Sounds good to me.
Because whenever you talk about players, I hate when people don't give you context because there's context around things. So it doesn't matter if you have a shooter, defender, who the coach is, money, nothing. Between these two players, you have to choose between them. Who are you going to choose to start your franchise? We good?
Sounds good to me, man. Let's get this thing started.
All right. So if you're listening, you're watching, comment, go see me at Motor City Hoops. Go see Lance at Lance Caparossi on Twitter and let us know what you would choose. So the first one we're going to go with, we'll try to get through as many as we can here in our 10 or 15 minutes. To start your franchise between these two players, Trae Young or Damian Lillard?
Ooh, wait, are we going back from rookie year or just as is right now?
No. Everything is, they're the age they are right now. Remember, you're starting a franchise, so age does factor in. But it's who they are right at this moment.
I'm actually going to go Trae Young, and the reason is he's an elite shooter. He's an elite playmaker. I feel like when he passes the ball, it actually is more of trying to set people up in better situations. Not saying Damian Lillard doesn't have that ability. It just feels like some guys, and I believe Damian Lillard is in this category, that they almost force the assist numbers on people. Some guys pass the ball and it goes somewhere. They play make to a higher ability. I believe Trae Young does that. And also, you know what? I'm just going to say it. I think Trae Young his ceiling is higher than Damian Lillard's. Damian Lillard is very good, but he's a scorer. I think Trae Young will eventually develop that ability to either hurt you with scoring or hurt you with his playmaking. So I'm going to go Trae Young to start my franchise with.
That's interesting. This one's tough. I mean, that was the point, right? The one I came up with was to make, a tough decision.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Trae Young too, and I can't believe it. And I'll be honest, you kind of partially talked me into it, Lance, but I like Trae Young's game. And maybe I'm prisoner of the moment right now. He's been balling out in the playoffs. I think we're seeing him take a leap into another stratosphere with where he is as a player. And that's hard for me to say because I'm a huge fan of Damian Lillard. But I'm actually going to agree with you, Lance. I'm going to go with Trae Young as well.
Hey, there we go. I'm glad I convinced you.
Second one. And so I was getting real frustrated before we started because you were talking about these two players. So I was like, Lance, leave it for, because you don't know what's coming. So for anybody watching, Lance doesn't know. So the second scenario, all the same context, Giannis or Luka?
Oh, I'm taking Luka, hands down. And this is the reason why. Like, Luka is – dude, it's kind of like young LeBron James right now. I forget who posted the stat sheet of – I think it was Game 6, but every possession or whatever game it was that he had 47 points and 14 assists, and I believe it was that game. But every offensive possession, or dang near every offensive possession, Luka either scored or assisted by setting someone up, and I love that part of his game. Giannis is very good, but I feel like they try to use Giannis as kind of like that point guard that goes downhill. And me personally, that's just not his game. I wish he played more off the ball, did a little bit more pick and roll to the rim, did a little rim running that way. And also, Giannis, he sticks to everything he's already great at. Well, there's nothing wrong with that, but there hasn't really been too much developed since his first MVP. He's not that good of a shooter. He's not that great of a playmaker. He is driving, spinning, dunking, which is it's effective. It's fun regular season ball, and the defensive numbers are great. I just think Luka's better all around. And even though Luka is a worse defensive player, everything he brings to you offensively and as a leader, that is going to move your team further into the playoffs. So I'm taking Luka over Giannis.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's Luka as well. I wouldn't have said this, a season or two ago. Even in the loss to the Clippers in that series, I think Luka showed what he is as a player. And I think in this context of starting a franchise, I think Luka's the better bet because he can play that all-around game. You know what I mean? Like, you put Giannis on a team, and then all of a sudden I think you have to put specific types of players around him. With Luka, I think as long as you get good players around him, he's going to make him better and he's going to make it work. As we've seen with Dallas, like, I think all you have to do is give Luka a true number 2 option, and they're going to go really far. They would have beat the Clippers if he had a true number 2 option, which I don't think he has right now. Porzingis hasn't shown it. So I think in this context of starting a franchise, the guy that has the more all-around game, which is Luka, I think that's who you have to take.
Also, I feel like Giannis kind of falls into this category with Allen Iverson and Russell Westbrook. And you said it, they have to have specific players around them. And they can be franchise players, and that's fine. But they're so ball dominant, and everything they do is like, they're not very, neither of them are, none of those 3 are very good, like, off the ball. You know what I'm saying? They have to have their balls in the ball in their hand to be effective and to really just kind of, I don't know, be that player that and Luka, just ball in his hand, ball not in his hand, doesn't matter. He's my franchise guy. I was trying to make a better point there, but Giannis basically falls in the category of Allen Iverson and Russell Westbrook for me, that you have to have very specific players around him in order to succeed.
I agree. So the third one, maybe not the same level as superstardom that some of these other ones or the ones beyond them. So we're going to go with number 3 here. Same context. Remember, to start your franchise. So for whatever else, all these other guys have been chosen. Devin Booker or Bradley Beal?
Oh, I'm going Devin Booker, man. And that's
you hate Bradley Beal.
I don't hate Bradley Beal.
Yes,
but
you do.
No. They're both very good scorers. But from what I've seen with Devin Booker, he brings a little more to the table. So if he's not scoring, he can still be effective in the game. And Bradley Beal, like, if he's not scoring, he's almost lost. Like, he disappears on the court. And I wanted to say before we moved on that I think Bradley Beal and Luka would be incredible together. I would love to see that pairing. But for the sake of these 2, I'm taking Devin Booker. I think he's the more efficient and better scorer. He's a little bit bigger, but also I think he's a better playmaker as well. Like, we've seen him be the ball dominant guard, and his teams have done. I mean, they've both pretty much done the same thing in the same situation, but give me Devin Booker over Bradley Beal.
Yeah, this isn't going as well as I'd hope. I was hoping we were going to disagree a little bit more. I'm with you. I think it's really close, though. Like, I think Bradley Beal is a big-time shooter. I think he's a big-time scorer. Your argument, so if I want to make an argument for Bradley Beal, and I guess I'm going to kind of make it against Devin Booker, like, he has this great point guard and a really nice system and a good team around him that's really highlighting his skills. And I'll be honest, though, watching this last game, I broke down his last game in the playoffs. He plays off the pick and roll really well, or like the ball screen. I shouldn't say pick and roll, but off the ball screens. He's getting trapped. He's getting all sorts of attention and still able to make play. He had 8 assists in game 1 versus the Nuggets. So he has a really well all-around game. I'd like to see, like you said, I'd like to see Bradley Beal with somebody else too. I think he's a big-time scorer. So again, in a different context, Lance, I think you could find scenarios where it's Bradley Beal, right? Like, if you just needed that second option scorer, like with Luka, like if the context was different of who's better to pair with Luka, I think you could make more of an option with Bradley Beal. But in this context of in a vacuum, everything the same, I think, again, Devin Booker's probably the all-around better player. Maybe I'm prisoner of the moment. Maybe you are with the playoffs. I don't know.
No, I was going to say, too, about your breakdown. There was one play that you broke down where Devin Booker set the screen for, I think, Jay Crowder. And that's something Steph Curry does in the Warriors. Like those where they recognize the situation. Like I think they see the game.
He screened his own man. He recognized he needed to screen his own man.
Yeah, and like I just think some guys see the game a little differently, and Booker's in that category. And it was very Steph-like. I know they're different players, but the ability to put your body on the line and screen your own man, sacrificing for your teammate to get a better look, I love to see that. And I just don't think that's in Bradley Beal's wheelhouse. But you paired Bradley Beal with Luka, that's a dangerous duo, my friend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's what I want to see. I don't know if that trade can happen. I don't know what the Mavericks could do to make it happen. I've been screaming that since the middle of the season. So I don't know. Okay, We're going to add one. No, let's wait. Let's do this one. Okay. Remember, starting a franchise. Okay. And maybe this isn't going to end up being as good as what I thought, but starting a franchise. So it's not just about next year. It's about, okay, Kevin Durant or LeBron James.
Oh man. You know what? I'm actually gonna go Kevin Durant. It's just okay. Well, I just think Kevin Durant, there's so much more to his game that I think people don't realize. He can play the 3, the 4, the 5. He can run the offense. He can bring the ball up in transition. Playmaking's not his biggest suit, but it's definitely in his tool belt. That's a tool on the belt that he carries. But Durant, he is so much more than a scorer, but he can hurt you from all 3 levels scoring the ball. He can be that 5-man for you for unique lineups and pull the guy away. And, I think he can adapt really to any type of offensive system. I really think he's that, like he really can. And like with LeBron, we've talked about it on the Everything Hoops podcast as well. LeBron, like it doesn't matter what offensive system you put him in, he's going to be LeBron and he's just going to dictate how the offense runs. So I'm going to take Kevin Durant right now over LeBron James as my franchise cornerstone.
Okay, so for the context of this, I would say KD as well. But for the purpose for argument's sake, I'll make for LeBron James. I still think he's the best player in the world. I know he had a first-round exit. They win that series, in my opinion, if Anthony Davis is healthy. I mean, people may disagree with that. I think they do. And you can say, well, he needs Anthony Davis. Well, everybody needs a number 2. We may agree that Luka is the number 1 pick in this scenario over just about anybody. And we both love Luka. And I think we both agree he needs a number 2. I think everybody needs other good players around them to win a championship. I don't think that Lakers team is well constructed. So I'm getting off. But I still think LeBron is the most on. If this was just for the next 3 years, I would without question still take LeBron James. But since the context is to start a franchise and you have to look into the future, I think Kevin Durant's probably the best answer, though there are some injury concerns with Kevin Durant as well. Like those injuries aren't just like nothing, like there has to be a little bit of concern. As a GM, if my owner said, hey, I want to win a championship in the next 2 years from the start of this franchise, I think LeBron James may still be the answer. And again, I know we're not allowed to do this, but you put the right guys around LeBron James, and he's the best player in the world. Like I just think that Lakers team was poorly constructed.
I agree with you on that too. I think they invested too much into higher end role players when they should have just tried to bring all those other guys back. Guys that have already found success in their roles, they should have just brought them back and ran it back with that team. And, maybe put guys like Alex Caruso or Talen Horton-Tucker in, bigger roles throughout the season just to, I don't know, give them a little bit more game experience, I guess, because I really like both those guys' games. But I think the Lakers messed up and they tried to bring in too many high-end role players like a Harrell, like a Schroeder. Those guys, I don't know why LeBron tries to do that all the time. They just don't mesh with his game.
We've seen it. It's hard to play with LeBron. And I'm not saying that as a negative against LeBron, but it takes certain personalities, certain types of players. You got to be able to handle him. And yeah, so I think you have to bring in the right guys. I think you have to get used to playing with him. And I just think they need shooting. I thought they needed shooting. You have LeBron James, you have Anthony Davis. Just put 3 other guys that can shoot the ball. And our guy CJ Marchesani, another guy, go follow on Twitter if you're watching this. He has a great spacing and gravity metric he came up with, and theirs isn't very good. And the playoffs, as it's gone through, has shown the better spacing and gravity teams are the teams advancing in the playoffs. So, all right, last one. I'm going to add some. So we're going to go block or charge or travel. Okay?
Okay.
So 3 people: Anthony Davis, Joel Embiid, or the Joker.
Oh my gosh. Do I get to rank these guys based on?
You can choose one, or if you would prefer to rank all 3, how you would pick based on having the first, second, or third pick, you can do that as well.
Man, if it was between Joel Embiid and Anthony Davis, I'm taking Joel Embiid. But since you added the Joker, I'm taking Nikola Jokic every day of the week. I love his game. Like, yeah, there's a lot of people that will say, well, he's not the defender as the other 2. He's still a good defender. Like, he's not terrible. He's not great. He's a little bit above average. I'll say that. And that's all I need. But the impact he brings offensively, that is like at the end of the day, defense is important, but what he brings to the offensive end, that is more important. And we're seeing it right now. We're seeing it right now in this playoffs. Like, and there's so many facets to his game. It's not just scoring. It's not just passing. It's not just rebounding. He combines all of that stuff into a very, very good, very great player. I don't know how he does it, but I've never seen a player quite like him where they dictate so much offensively from the 5 spot. So I'm going to take Nikola Jokic. It's no offense to Anthony Davis. He's an incredible talent. He just gets hurt too much. And I've seen him as the franchise player in New Orleans. You can say whatever you want about that team. He just didn't get it done as the number one guy. Nikola Jokic is doing it. Joel Embiid is doing it as the number one guy. So it comes down to those two, but it's Nikola Jokic for me.
Isn't it crazy that we're both going to put Anthony Davis number 3? Like we both would. And so the injury concerns, like I don't like the term injury prone. I think that's unfair. But at the end of the day, some guys seem to get hurt more than others, and whether it's whatever it is, whatever the reason, maybe it's bad luck. Maybe they did something to piss off the basketball gods. I don't know. I got hurt a bunch. I thought I did everything right. So maybe I pissed off the basketball gods somehow. But, with that said, I'm going to take another guy with the injury history. I'm going to take Joel Embiid. I'm going to be a homer. I'm going to be a KU Jayhawker here. And I like Joel Embiid. I actually think he's the more dominant, better player. And I think he would have been MVP if he wouldn't have missed 21 games. So I will readily admit this could be a dumb decision based on injury history and availability. And one of the best skills is being available to play. So as a GM, I'm going to put my job on the line, and this is probably dumb, but with Joel Embiid staying healthy, because I think the Joel Embiid that we saw this year, I thought he turned a corner and really bought into playing the way that he needs to play to be dominant. And you talk about a skilled guy, like go watch my Joel Embiid breakdown. That's a skilled dude too. Maybe he doesn't pass it like Joker, but he can dribble it down. He can ISO you. He can shoot threes. He can go to the post. He can shoot a step back from 12 feet. So maybe he's not the passer. I would say he's probably better defensively. I think he's a better shooter. So like there's some things I could argue that he's better. The injury history is one. I understand maybe it's dumb to bet my job as a GM on that, but I'm taking Joel Embiid and be a homer here with the Jayhawks.
And let me say, like, all three of these guys are so close in talent, and like, I'm picking Nikola Jokic over Joel Embiid, but it's by margins. I still love Joel Embiid's game. And if I'm drafting number 2 for these three and I get Joel Embiid, I'm still pretty happy about that. And as for the basketball gods thing, I'm starting to think that Anthony Davis was like, man, look, you give me another 8 inches, I'll only play 47 games a year. Like I promise. Just let me be a big man with my guard skills and I'll get there. Maybe you did the same thing. You said, hey, I want to play D1, but, take my knees. I have no idea.
Just one knee. They just took one.
Yeah.
And my host on Motor City Hoops, Vlad Moldovan, he loves Anthony Davis. So, I mean, there's some people that I assume are going to, come at us and tell us that Anthony Davis is actually the most skilled player if he wasn't, hurt all the time. So, that was the whole point, right? The whole point of this block charge or travel for this one was to, put guys that I felt like were similar or would make a hard decision, make for good discussion. So, hopefully that was fun. Hopefully you enjoyed it, Lance. I tried to come up with some good ones. I hope anybody who watches hits us up again on Motor City Hoops at Lance Caparosi or on the YouTube page and lets us know what they think.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can follow me. Oh, well, before I get into that, let me just say I love having these type of discussions. I love talking about players. We were talking about on the last podcast, roster construction, which I went on way too long of a rant for, but yeah, we talk about it. So real quick for everybody watching this, you can follow me at Lance Caparosi. You can follow Bryce at Motor City Hoops. You can follow our Instagram page at Everything Hoops. Obviously you should subscribe to this YouTube channel, but yeah, go look at our podcast, Everything Hoops podcast. There's a couple episodes up. We do interviews. We talk just like this about the game of basketball, or I should say the game of hoops. Go to Apple, leave a comment, give us a rating. More importantly, hit that subscribe button. And yeah, this has been fun. We'll do another one of these.
Tell a friend.
Tell a hoop fan, man.